her way.
Perfect.
So anyway, did I tell you what my immediate plans are?
Your immediate plans as in tomorrow or as in Mexico?
Yeah, Mexico.
Yeah, we've talked about your Mexico plans.
Yep. And I'm still thinking of that.
You're still thinking of that?
Yep.
You're still trying to work out all the logistics as well?
Yep. But I've got plenty of information now, so I think
That's good.
I'll start next semester.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Yep.
So yeah, this coming would be fall semester.
Yep. Exactly. So that should be fun.
That will be fun. And have you already picked out a place where you're gonna live in Hermosillo, or you?
No, I haven't been there yet.
But you can stay with family when you first get down there.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
a hotel.
Or a hotel.
Yeah, there's plenty of places to stay.
That's good.
And yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that.
And so that'll be before October, because you said you were going to go in October, but it might be
Yeah.
a little bit before October.
It might be.
It might be in August or September.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to make it for August.
And when's the last time you like truly lived not in America?
Well, the last time I was out of the States was in Mexico City,
Mm-hmm.
and that was that was about 51 years ago,
Wow.
I think.
Yeah, that's probably.
Well, yeah, Andrew was born there when we first got there.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever age he is, and I think he's about 51.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So that's been a while.
But you don't think it won't be any sort of culture shock or any change, because you're used to that.
Yeah, I've been in touch with
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
folks there and down there, so it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm looking forward to it. Got lots of cousins and uncles
Mhm.
and aunts and people that
Mm-hmm.
are
Especially, yeah, we've been talking about
yeah
that place a lot, and the people a lot as well. And so it'll be nice to go back there
yeah
after like spending time in this recent process thinking about all those people and places.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah and yeah, I've got a lot of connections obviously,
Mhm.
and they're expecting me.
Mm.
Besides,
Are they excited to see you?
I think they are.
That's good.
I think they are, because I haven't been there for a long time.
That's so cool.
But we've always, it's a family is
Mhm.
close, so that we always know where we are.
And is it all family, as in family, like blood related family, or is a lot of it down there family that is just because you guys have grown up and families have been close forever?
It's mostly family, blood family,
Mhm.
but I made lots of friends when I was down there.
Exactly.
All the time. I was down there when I was a kid, so my other cousins and friends of cousins and
Mhm.
all of that, we just had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Are there any people that you're specifically looking forward to see?
Yeah, there's a few. There is a few. I'm very eager to see them, but I don't know what they've been up. I know what they've been up to, but I haven't seen them physically
Mm-hmm.
for a long time.
That's interesting.
So I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of people that I'm particularly interested in seeing, and I will do that. So
That's good.
that's the fun part of it. So I've been thinking of, I'm going to look for a place to live down there.
Mhm.
But that should be easy enough.
Mhm.
Should be plenty of options. Either rent a house or buy a house
Yeah, exactly.
or something along those lines. And yeah, so I'm excited about all of that.
Do you think that the town is going to be different in any way?
Well, it's become much more of a city.
Mm.
It used to be a small town,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm told that it's now a large city.
Really?
So yeah, I'm interested. And and I haven't decided yet about my legal education.
Mm-hmm.
I may want to do it remote, without having to attend. Or I may want to. My preference would be to do it personally.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be you gain the most from that experience.
Yeah, probably, and it should be the easiest, with a human connection.
Exactly, physical and emotional connection versus just
Yeah,
over the screen.
yeah, exactly. And so I'm going to be looking for a coach,
Mm-hmm. A tutor, yeah.
a tutor, yeah, which would be a lot of people.
Would need that job probably.
How
Any student would need that job or
Yeah.
any
there's a lot of
post grad or
a recent graduate
exactly, yeah.
who hasn't gotten hired yet.
Exactly.
And I have no idea what that means as a career. Since I don't plan on working as a
Mhm.
lawyer, I just want
You just want the knowledge.
I want the knowledge and the fun of learning.
But are you gonna try to go for a full? Is it a 4-year degree or is it a 2-year
I
degree?
think it's a 2-year degree.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, because there's it goes straight. You don't take a BA first there.
Huh.
You go straight from high school or into
Into some sort of
law school,
yeah.
and so you get to be a professional faster.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little easier, maybe a little
Maybe a
harder.
little harder, yeah.
I have no idea.
That's gonna be really interesting to experience. Because for your younger life, you're experiencing both sides of education, both
Yeah.
like the Mexican. You haven't had a Mexican education
Ever.
since I guess because the nuns weren't necessarily Mexican.
No,
Yeah, they were.
no. The initial nuns.
The initial ones were, yeah.
Were Mexican.
Exactly. But since that, you would say you maybe haven't had a
I
Mexican.
haven't had a Mexican education at all. And I remember I did have one summer. I was really interested in refining my Spanish
Mm-hmm. When you were younger.
when I was younger. So I took a summer course in a trade school in like a secretarial school.
Mm-hmm.
So I was learning shorthand and all
That's
that
cool.
kind of stuff
In Spanish, though.
in Spanish.
Yeah.
So, and I had forgotten about that, but that's the only Spanish education I ever had.
Yeah, it's
So now I'm going to have a. But fortunately, I kept my Spanish up really well.
mm-hmm.
And
Do you think that's something that you easily could have lost throughout your life?
yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely, because most people do lose it.
And did you have like a fear of losing it, or did you just more have like a need?
I like the feeling and the knowledge of being
Bilingual.
thoroughly bilingual,
Yeah.
as opposed to partially
Mm.
bilingual. So most people
Exactly.
lose.
Or will say they're bilingual but are not completely.
Yeah, exactly. In my case, I am
Yeah.
completely bilingual,
Yeah.
and such that I even had a time when I couldn't remember if I had learned something in English or in Spanish.
That's funny.
So
What about the way that your brain thinks? Does your brain think in both English and Spanish?
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty
yeah,
cool.
it does not.
But do you necessarily catch yourself? You don't catch yourself having thoughts in Spanish versus thoughts in English.
No.
It's just thoughts.
Yeah, just thoughts, and I can. And if I need to express something,
Mm-hmm. You can do it in any way.
Whatever.
Whichever way you want.
Whatever's best at
Mhm.
the moment. So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, no.
And I'm kind of sorry I never did more languages,
Uh-huh.
but what the hell.
Do you think you would have had do you think you might have had a natural knack for picking up languages?
Yes, I do. I do have. So when I'm in France or when I'm in Italy, I start speaking the language right away.
Yeah.
I took some French in school, but I never mastered the language,
Mm-hmm.
except when I happened to be in France, and then all of a sudden it all comes back. And
Did you ever try any like non-Latin and Greek based language?
No, I have not.
Because that's why it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Italian is really easy.
Similar to Spanish, yeah.
Whenever I go to Italy, a few times I've been there, after a couple of days I'm speaking like a native.
It's cool.
So it's kind of cool, yeah.
Mhm.
It makes me feel good
Hmm.
and kind of powerful
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
to be able to be at home.
You think it allows you to like think more critically because you're kind of thinking about two different almost like cultures, it seems. Because you're thinking like in terms of English and kind of like the values that English has as a language inherently, and also
Yeah,
and the values that Spanish holds as
yeah.
a language.
I think it's a really interesting thing.
Yeah,
That it's that I can do both at the same time as that.
then one person can do just one,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Meanwhile, you're both in both places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Hmm.
I get. And you say you don't want anything to drink, a beer or.
Oh no, I'm perfect. Thank you.
I'm gonna have some water. No me regalas un vasito de agua, por favor.
¿Para usted?
Sí, para mí.
¿Le traemos su vaso o le sirvo aparte?
Aparte. Yeah, I'm thirsty all of a sudden. So anyway, that's the. That's what. I'm very excited about going back home.
Hmm.
That is the other.
That's definitely like even I'm going back home after being gone for just a school year.
Yeah.
And going back home is definitely like going back home.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. So I haven't had that big deal for a long
Exactly.
time.
Yeah. Or do you have any sort of like anxieties or things that are kind of keeping you here, or are you
No.
pretty ready to?
I'm ready.
It's all
Yeah. The reason I haven't left here yet is because I've got some dental stuff going on.
that isn't it's not pressing.
Yeah, and I can't leave for
Mm-hmm.
a few weeks.
Nothing other than dental.
Nothing other than dental. Exactly right. And I catch myself hoping I was ready to go. I am ready.
You are ready to go.
So, and I have just been informed that my LA Tijuana family is having we're having a reunion.
That's amazing.
So that'll be I'll be going to that.
And is it in Tijuana or is it in LA?
It'll be in San Diego.
Oh, nice.
So the family lives on both sides of the border.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be going to. I'm looking forward to.
And that'll be before you go to Mexico. That's soon. Somewhat soon.
That'll be in July.
Nice.
So I may already be
Mm-hmm.
in Sonora, but it's close enough.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a nice flight from TJ
Yeah.
to Hermosillo, very
Very easy.
Yeah, because that's part of the same, it's part of the same geography,
Mm-hmm.
same desert.
So if a plane can land in Tijuana, it can probably land in Hermosillo as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of nice. So it'll be nice. It is like going home.
To go to Hermosillo or to go to.
Just to go to that part of
Yeah.
the world, because I lived in Tijuana for
Exactly. Yeah.
a number of years.
You were kind of living in immediacy, like between both places
Yeah.
as well. When you were on the border and.
Yeah,
and
most of my life I lived on the border
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
and had access to
That's
both
like
sides.
It's pretty. Like when I first learned that about you, that was definitely like I was like, wow, like this is. Like the life that you lived is completely one of a kind in that sense.
Yeah,
That not many people get to experience
and
that sort of.
that's what made my Spanish English
Exactly.
as strong as they both
Exactly.
are. So I've enjoyed my life a
Yeah.
lot. So I'm planning on enjoying it some more.
Exactly. I don't know. I saw there. It's a band. I think they're They're actually Swiss Ecuadorian, but they're brothers. And their name is Hermanos Gutierrez. And they played at the Hollywood Bowl or maybe it was at the Greek a couple weeks ago. And they play like kind of, there's just two guitarists, two brothers just playing guitar together.
Oh, wow.
It's beautiful, beautiful music. But they wrote I sent the text, but I don't know if you ever got it. But it was a text about the song because we were there and they were writing about how they were in like the area of Hermosillo. They mentioned Hermosillo and they mentioned that they were driving to Arizona and they wrote a song that like mirrored the desert to
How
them.
cool! I didn't see.
Yeah, but maybe I'll send it to you again.
If you would,
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. So.
Yeah, it made me think of you and it made me think of the desert and the air and like that. It's a whole completely different world that
It is.
specifically like Northern California would never even be able to fathom. Like to me, that's just desolate.
No, well, Northern California is a totally different.
Yeah, exactly.
Weather.
Exactly.
And, climate.
Completely different.
Yeah. So and the desert is hot.
And the desert is hot, but it's beautiful.
Yeah. It is. Fortunately, I was never bothered by the heat.
Exactly. But probably because you were born there.
Exactly.
And it was pumped into your genetics to not care about the heat.
Very likely, or into my early life.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I didn't leave the desert until I was about 4 or 5,
Mhm.
and by that time I guess, gotten acclimated
Mhm.
to it. So when I
When
was
you go back, yeah.
I was older and going back to Hermosillo for vacation or whatever,
Mhm.
different from a lot of people. I enjoyed the heat.
Mhm.
I liked the heat. I guess it was like going home. And
I just remembered the story you told of you taking the Greyhound bus.
yeah,
And then you would get off the bus and they'd have taco stands and whatever it was.
yeah. Yeah, I took buses into that, but not necessarily Greyhounds.
Yeah, not Greyhound, yeah. Whatever it was at the time.
Mexican buses.
Yeah, exactly, Mexican buses.
I would take a bus from Tijuana to Hermosillo.
Mhm.
Once I took a bus from Tijuana to Mexico City
Wow.
with my older brother.
That's a long bus ride.
It is a long bus
That's a
ride,
long bus ride.
and it was great fun.
Mhm.
One of the things that I enjoyed about it was that the bus drivers were always two, because they had to switch over, and many of them were singers,
Mhm.
so they would be singing in harmony and whatever, which was what my brother and I did. So I thought, wow, this is terrific. So I learned something about singing as a duet
Yeah.
from the bus drivers.
Yeah.
And they had great voices, and that was part of their life.
Apenas llegó.
Qué bueno, por fin.
Hello there.
Hello,
Hello,
hello.
Christina.
Hi.
Nice
So
to
nice
see
to
you.
see you.
How are you?
Well, I'm alive, which is
That's
a
good.
really good thing.
You
I'm
look
so
alive.
excited. Yeah.
I am very nice to see you.
Thank you. It's nice to see you too. I see what we have to do. Oh, great. So you're in the middle of your thing.
Yeah, but we just got started. And
Okay,
we're only
that's
two-
cool. You just do your thing and
Well-
meet right here.
Well,
And you just have to correct something that you said last time. Do you remember?
vaguely.
Okay, yeah.
Remind me.
It was that Andrew is your son.
I knew.
Yeah.
Wait, so what is the actual reality of that situation?
The actual reality, gracias, is that Andrew is his son.
Okay. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
it's not his brother.
Yes.
Yes. So anyway, that's all I have to say. And other than
I
that,
was gonna reach out to you about that because
Yes.
it was a bombshell dropped to my brain and I was like thinking about it for like days after. I was like, this is crazy.
Well, he's acting like my father now.
yeah, well, that's the thing, and that's probably
Well-
where you kind of got confused about who he might be.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think
Okay.
that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. It was.
Yeah.
That's funny though.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right then.
Yeah, 'cause
So
he-
continue. I'm gonna swing by the restroom.
Please.
Are these your paintings, Hector?
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
Well, that was those. I had some of those that burned up in my house,
Mm-hmm.
and then Andrew found them
And nice.
and got.
Were they bigger or were they the
They
same
were
size?
exactly the same
Wow,
size.
that's cool.
And the same
Style.
Style, yeah.
It looks like Aztec
It's,
art.
it's Panamanian,
Hmm.
and it's very beautiful.
It's beautiful, yeah.
Yep. So I'm very happy. And this guy up above there is that's Monet.
Yeah, it's Monet.
And he is one of, I really like that. And that was also a gift from Andrew and his wife, and saw those. And
Do you know the name of that painter?
no,
No.
those are
No.
totally you know, community.
Mm-hmm.
It's a community art.
Yeah, yeah. It's cool.
So, and it's very, very nice. And there's a lot of that in Panama.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've never spent too much time in Panama,
You didn't.
but you know, I like their art.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of Panamanian friends growing up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In LA or
In LA, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was in a junior college,
Yeah.
and it was very, very mixed in backgrounds, and I had a bunch of we had a crowd of people, a gang, I suppose, that you know, guys and girls, and we made great friends from people from lots of places in Latin America.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because
Because that was a unifying. The language was the unifying.
yeah, exactly.
thing, yeah.
So we made friends in the school, and we automatically, you know, belonged to the same
And that was at LACC or was that? Yeah.
LCC. That has attracted and still attracts a lot of
LACC, yeah.
Latino kids, and I thought it was a great school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
I only really hear about SMC because it's so close.
yeah,
And a lot of kids transfer to UCLA from there, but
yeah,
and I
that's,
think because the people live in Westwood and go to SMC, because there's not many people that go to LACC from around here.
yeah, exactly.
There's less amount of people.
And you know, I never felt it was a second-rate school because I learned a lot, and when I got to USC,
You were just with everyone else.
yeah, I didn't feel at a disadvantage,
Yeah, exactly.
and I had my own advantages.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fun, being connected to a lot of Latin American
Mhm.
countries, and that was where I learned a lot about Latin America,
Yeah.
which was part of my study when I was in graduate school.
Mhm.
I was studying diplomacy. That was one of the courses, one of the areas that I was specializing in, and the knowing different countries and how they're different, and how different they are from Mexicans.
Exactly. Yeah. Because that also then helped you in your advertising as well.
Oh yeah, oh, absolutely, because I could differentiate. So and when we were doing advertising, that's a great observation. When we were doing advertising, we would want to talk to everybody that was a Spanish speaker. But in order to do that, we had to know how the Spanish was spoken,
Mm-hmm.
because if it wasn't really truly Spanish that they were familiar with, they would think it was not for them.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to use a generalized Spanish,
Yeah.
you know, that was
Exactly. Like a standard Spanish. Yeah.
standard Spanish,
Standardized. Yeah.
understood by all of the Latin
Mm-hmm.
cultures that were hanging around California. So I enjoyed that part of my life as well. Well, I've enjoyed all parts of my life.
Exactly. I know you have.
Yeah, so that was one of being involved with the Latino community and understanding it was a real interesting thing. And then finding myself in it, what was the same.
Where did you fit inside of it?
And what was the same thing about me that I was learning about other people.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I think I may have told you about this, that I was, when I figured it out, I was really surprised and kind of pleased, because one of the things that we discovered when we were talking to, we did a lot of research, and focus groups and stuff, and we would do that by different countries sometimes, and sometimes mixed, and so we understood how the language is spoken. And I may have told you about this, but in any case, one of the things that we learned about the community was that in the U.S., when the wife took over
So that was something that you didn't find out through talking to other people, but through research. Your
Exactly.
studies showed that.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
cool.
When the wife took over the checkbook, the family got prosperous.
Mm-hmm.
When the guys were managing,
You saw that trend over all Latin cultures.
all of the Latin
Mhm.
cultures, yeah. As soon as the guys, it always started with the guy being in charge, and then it changed over time. And as soon as it changed, their relationship to money also changed, and they became a lot more American.
Mm.
No, because the Americans were, I thought, were very disciplined about money, whereas the Latins, the thing you do on Friday after payday, you went and got drunk.
Yep.
Not everybody did that, and not everybody got drunk, but you spent the money on frivolities.
Mm.
And as soon as the wife took over, she
She
wasn't having any frivolities with the money, and they still were Latinos, and they still had all the other good and bad aspects of their nature, but it was really cool to see the fact that they were now being prosperous, because they had learned from their wives.
Mm-hmm.
So women had a very interesting position in the life of the family once they got to the United States. So that was a very interesting thing going on. So anyway, that was the thing that I enjoyed a lot, is understanding the differences
Between all Latin cultures, yeah.
between the Latin cultures and the languages too, the language that we all spoke. And that was kind of cool. I mean, I had a lot of breadth of knowledge of the community,
Yeah.
which I think is one of the things that allowed us to be very successful.
Yeah.
Because we were very successful with our clients. When we would do advertising, we would be very successful, and people would do what we told them to do. It was a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And we also were very careful of only taking clients that had something to offer the community. It wasn't just about buying
Somehow uplifting the Latino community, yeah.
Exactly. So we did do soft drinks, however.
Mm-hmm.
We did Coca-Cola for a while.
Yep. Pepsi, right?
And we did Pepsi, and that was great fun. Pepsi was a great fun, and that taught us more about the American culture,
Mm-hmm.
working with Pepsi, because the folks at the people at Coke, for example, were really nasty,
Yeah.
and the people at Pepsi were very nice. So they used to, do the kinds of things for the Latino bunch that we were that they did for the Americans. Whereas Coke treated the Hispanics on their roster quite badly.
Mm-hmm.
They were very nasty people, and they didn't treat us well. And they kind of felt that they were very entitled,
Mm-hmm.
and the people at Pepsi were very, very nice. One of the things that Pepsi did, for example, is they took their agencies on to once a year they would plan a trip,
Mm-hmm.
and they would invite the agencies, so they'd invite the American agencies to one trip and the Hispanic agencies to another trip, and it was great fun. You would go skiing,
Mm-hmm.
we would go to the Caribbean, and just had a great time, and get to know the clients as human beings. Whereas at Coke, we didn't know them as human beings. We knew them as assholes.
Yep.
And it was so when we stopped working with Coke, it was a great pleasure to do that, and work with Pepsi instead.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it also shows you the way that like how American culture can fit into Latino culture.
Yes,
And through Coke, you saw how maybe it couldn't or how it shouldn't.
it
Pepsi.
wasn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would not fit in
Mm-hmm.
the culture of the company
Exactly.
versus the culture of
Of your company, yeah.
culture. Yeah, and so it was very evident that they had different ideas to the value of the Latino culture,
Mm-hmm.
and they would not, they wouldn't spend the money
Exactly.
in the same ways. They would be very very nasty to us. They were nasty to the Anglo agency as well, but in different ways.
And Coke was your client with Orci, or was it when you were working with the?
We were working with McCann.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
But then was Pepsi and Orci? Oh, that was also McCann.
No, that was not McCann.
That was you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
When we left McCann, we lost the Pepsi
You,
account.
We also lost the Coke.
I mean the
account.
Coke
Yeah.
account, and then a couple of years later, we
That's
picked
cool.
up Pepsi,
That's cool.
and we were very happy about the difference. We didn't know what to expect,
Mm-hmm.
but we did know that the Pepsi people made friends with their Hispanic partners.
Mm-hmm.
So we were really partners,
In that sense, yeah.
and we were very successful both on both. And one of the things that we did is that we learned that the only way that we would be able to grow our business was to prove to clients that what they were doing with us was gaining business.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to invent how to measure, because they didn't have measurements by ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
They're just measurements, period,
Yeah.
by geography.
That's cool.
So we set up a way to measure
The frequent, the percentage of certain ethnicities that we're seeing returns.
and the way we did it was by measuring the Spanish dominant retailers,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing how they responded to our advertising,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked
Yeah.
really well, because since they tracked sales by geography, we just said this geography is Hispanic. So anything you're selling here, if it's changing, that's because it's our work.
Mm-hmm.
And they believed it because
Because it was true.
they believed in research.
Yep.
So both of Pepsi and Coke were very responsive to that.
Was it mostly success, or did you have anything in the beginning that didn't work? Or was your run with McCann Erickson kind of when you really found out the way that your Spanish advertising was going to work, and then when you were with Orci, it was all good? Or was it hard as well?
No, when we were working with McCann and had our own clients, we brought in some clients. Like we brought in the Disney account,
Mm-hmm.
and they weren't interested in the Disney account because it wasn't theirs; it was ours. And we had tremendous success with Disney, very successful, and Disney measured everything.
Yeah.
And so we were one time we sold out the park
Wow.
when we were doing a Hispanic program
That's cool.
in the park, and there was no room for anybody else.
Wow.
It was sensational.
That's cool.
And of course, Disney counted it,
Yeah.
and they understood that
They attributed it to you.
it
Yeah.
was different. So and this was from no Latinos were going to Disney because they had never been invited. And that's the thing that we discovered for Disney, right? If
Mhm.
you don't invite them, they won't show up
Yeah.
because they think you're going to treat them badly,
Mm-hmm.
because they were treated badly in other.
Places, yeah. Wherever it was, other American places.
Yeah. So that was a really interesting. We found that very interesting, and of course Disney was very grateful. And this is before it became a corporation, when it was still family owned.
When Disney was still family owned.
Yeah, and as soon as it became corporate,
Yeah, they dropped you. Yeah.
they just decided to do it all.
Because they could spend enough money that people were going to be interested,
Yeah.
essentially.
And we had already opened up the Hispanic market
Mm.
for them, so that all they had to do was continue.
Did that often happen? Do you feel that the companies almost used? Did it seem like Disney almost used you guys to gain a foothold in the Hispanic community, and then once you kind of established it, then they could do it on their own?
No, this is
No.
because they changed ownership.
And because the corporation is not going to have a small whatever,
Yeah.
they're going to have all their advertisement in one big
Yeah,
centralized place.
exactly.
Okay.
So that was that was the normal way of the world, no? That
Exactly. Once a big yeah, exactly.
so we were, but then there were other companies that were always very loyal
Yep.
to us and to the Hispanic market.
Did you have any companies stay with you from McCann? Oh yeah, that's right. They let you keep the clients, right?
Yeah, they let
And
us.
the clients stayed. Most of the clients stayed.
Most of the clients stayed, and except they didn't let us keep Coke.
Yeah, because that was theirs,
Yeah,
right?
that was theirs. That was the only thing that was theirs was Coke. Everything else we got to keep.
Wow.
And since once we were no longer with McCann, we became a small agency, so we had a hard time holding on to a lot of the clients.
Bigger clients.
So, but it was we got our own clients, and that's when the Pepsis of this world came into our business, and Pepsi was at that time was very pro agency.
Mm-hmm.
They liked their agencies, and they treated us, not only our agencies, but
All of them.
agencies. They treated everybody really well. They were very nice people. So, but the big one was Coke,
Mm-hmm.
and the Pepsi was big enough.
Yeah.
We didn't have any trouble with that.
I mean, as a small agency, like even having Coke is insane to think about.
Yeah.
That's like insane to think about.
Yep.
Under your own name.
Under our own name.
I think that's one of the coolest parts about your company is that it was all you guys.
Yeah.
It was even your own name.
And there was no doubt
Yep, exactly.
as to where it was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped our success over time.
how long do you think it took you to really, really feel good about Orci, like the agency?
Right away.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, right away. It was no doubt. Well, it was already, we were already feeling good about it because of the Disney was one of the big things.
You're already feeling good about yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was it necessarily the biggest jump and a scary leap to make your own agency?
No.
Kind of just made sense.
Yeah, we never lost money. We were always profitable.
And it was Norma's idea, correct? To,
Yeah. She did all the creative, and, or was in charge of all the creative. She was sensational.
Yeah.
She was really.
It seems like it.
She also became the only other approved voice for
Of
Mickey.
Minnie Mouse, right? Or Mickey?
Mickey, yeah.
Or Mickey.
She was Mickey's voice in Spanish, so that was kind of cool.
Which, so she was so if you hear Mickey Mouse speaking in Spanish, that was Norma?
From at that point, at that time, yeah.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, oh, she was very talented. She was a talented woman, and I'm very glad she and I were partners.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think myself, I was a pretty good advertising person. I knew how to do research and how to do,
But you don't think you were exceptionally, you can be really, really good at something and have all technical ability, but if you don't have any vision for what it should become.
No, I didn't. I wasn't. I would not be able to direct the creative.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Norma had a vision of how she could really use your intelligence and her own
Yeah.
creativity and intelligence as
Exactly.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our strategies we developed them together, and I was the strategist mostly, and she took to that really well. That was the other thing. We were not competing,
Mm-hmm.
and most places the creatives and the account management people were competing
Mm-hmm.
to see who would be the most influential.
Mm-hmm.
In our case, hey, it didn't matter who was being influential as long as we were doing it. And Norma and I were always very, very good partners. So that was the thing that I miss about her now, no? That we were great partners,
Mm-hmm. And not only in business.
not only in business,
Mhm.
in child rearing and, and just life.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was very lucky.
Mm-hmm.
I was very, very lucky. Not very many people. Nobody had that kind of thing.
Do you think you guys felt like that nobody else around you had the same
Yes,
love and success and but mostly based off the fact that you guys were together?
Yeah.
Like in that it was both of you together.
I thought so.
That's pretty-
and we talked about it. And yeah, we
That's
both thought
amazing.
so. Because there were other husband and wife teams working together, but the wife was sometimes.
They weren't necessarily both the CEOs, yeah.
Yeah, and exactly. They were not equals.
Yeah.
And one of them was doing something less important.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the woman was doing was less important.
Mm-hmm.
So we were very lucky. We were extremely lucky to be together. And I was extremely lucky to have such a talented person as part of my group. You know.
And she probably felt the same way about you, so.
I think so, yeah. Because she acted that way.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, we were very, very close, and we liked each other besides
Mm-hmm.
all of that.
Exactly, yeah, all of that.
Which is also unusual because usually the creatives don't like the account people,
Mm-hmm.
strategy people.
Because also I think one time you said, you said this about being with McCann Erickson, that you guys were like battling for money and battling against the non-Latino.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you guys were in a quest to see who could get more money.
Yes.
But you and Norma weren't like that.
No, exactly. We were.
Or and then also the creative and the accountant wasn't like that. That relationship wasn't like that. Even though that easily could have been it.
Yeah, they didn't live together with their.
Exactly. They didn't talk. And also, I enjoyed. You said that a lot of the time when you guys were falling asleep, you guys were just talking business, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever it was, because it was just so
Exactly.
intertwined with your.
Exactly. So they didn't sleep with their creatives
Exactly.
and the account people, and we did. so that was a great fun of being in business together.
Did you when you were working in Puerto Rico or when you were working in Mexico City? Did you guys ever talk about having your own business, or was it?
Yeah, we talked about it.
It was always something in the back of your
Yeah.
guys' minds.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But we weren't really planning it,
Mhm,
but we
mhm.
talked about it. And, but it was, there didn't seem to be any room for that
Mhm.
when we were different agencies.
Exactly. Yeah.
And she was in a local agency, and I was in an international agency. So it was a completely different thing, a different environment that she was used to. And she didn't understand how I could manage to deal with the American way of running things, which I could, which was helpful with the clients. I was very, what can I say? I was very comfortable
Yeah.
dealing with.
Skilled and
Yeah, and she did not like dealing with bad people
Mhm,
and
mhm.
people who were not
Nice,
dealing
yeah.
with us as equals,
Mhm.
and I was. Yeah,
You know, she wasn't able to take that out of her brain interactions, but you were. You know.
yeah. I was used to. I was very comfortable with that. And
Did she grow up on the border as well, or did she grow up in?
not at all.
She in LA.
L.A.
She was born in LA.
No, she was born in Chihuahua,
Oh yeah, that's right. She was born in Chihuahua.
and her family moved to L.A.
Mhm.
directly, as opposed to us. I mean, we moved to
Back and forth, bouncing. Yeah.
back and forth, and so she didn't live on the border like I did.
You didn't, yeah, because you grew up getting acquainted to these two cultures and seeing how your life fit into both of them, versus
Yep.
she was like almost a Spanish girl who was just boom put into American life,
That's
which is
right.
way different
Very, very.
on your brain probably, yeah.
But she was smart enough that she learned English perfectly
And kept her Spanish as well.
and kept her Spanish as well.
Were you more bilingual than her? Would you say?
No,
No.
no.
She was. You guys were equals.
She was equally bilingual as I was. She was a great translator,
Mm.
and which is.
That's cool.
Translation was also part of my thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of my summer jobs when I was still going to school was to work for the State Department,
Mhm.
U.S. State Department, as a simultaneous translator.
Wow.
So I used to accompany foreign guests of America
That's cool.
and be their translator.
How old you when you were at Fletcher or when you were at USC?
When I was at USC.
Wow. So you were like, yeah, you were young.
Yeah, I was, and it was really cool because I was hired by John F. Kennedy's translator
Wow.
because they didn't take just translators off the street.
Mhm.
They took me. In my case, I just happened to have showed up when they had room for somebody that they needed to be a translator, and I got a test. They tested me, and I passed.
And so how long did you? That was just for one summer.
Just one summer, but it was one of my favorite
Favorite.
summers ever. Yeah.
It was because it's almost like you're working and you're being bilingual, but you're also like learning about pretty probably interesting things, translating interesting stuff.
Very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
One of the things that the people I translated for were actually getting here to get to know the union relationship
Mm-hmm.
with companies. So they were union people.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to union kinds of
Like meetings.
locations and meetings and camps
Mm-hmm.
and such. And so I met some of the all the Ruther brothers, who were very prominent union people
Mm-hmm.
and great people. I got to know them, which was I thought was a real privilege
Mm-hmm.
because they were very prominent in American business.
And also, once again, another form of you attempting to figure out the way that the American values and systems can then be translated into Spanish,
Yes.
so that you're like keeping rapport but also keeping exactly what they said. Like you're not trying to confuse it, but you're also trying to
Yeah,
make it seem, yeah.
that's right. So, and I was dealing with a union language,
Mm-hmm.
which is English, of course.
Yeah, but it's
and
a type of English as well.
Yeah, exactly. I learned a lot of vocabulary,
Mm-hmm.
and it was great fun.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah,
That's a really cool job.
and yes, I would have loved to have continued that forever.
Really, do you think you could have done that do you think that could have been a job you've done forever?
Well,
I think that it might have gone in, maybe a little bit monotonous at
Yeah.
one point.
yeah, it would not have.
But definitely for a little longer would have been,
It would have been,
No.
but I couldn't get another summer job.
really, because why?
Because Mr. Kennedy was shot,
Oh, so
so everything changed.
it was after that summer, he got shot and then
Yeah,
you lost your job.
I didn't get another assignment. Yeah, 'cause I wasn't part of the gang. I got there through having met the Kennedy bunch.
And where did you meet the Kennedy's translator?
In Washington.
You were just in Washington?
I was in Washington spending a little time with my brother,
Really?
and my brother.
Because your brother was working for some.
Yeah, my brother was also working somewhere in the
He was-
government.
Yeah. But I thought, was he working for the American government or for the?
The American.
Oh, he was working for the American government.
Yeah, he was going to school. It was a summer job for him too.
Okay.
So he had a summer job, and he had met the Kennedy people
Mhm.
in the summer job, and he had been very successful with them,
Yeah.
and then he recommended me. And then the test they gave me was to take a newspaper and here read this in English,
And that was easy for
and
you.
then read this. That was the test, and it was very informal because I was dealing with
Yeah.
the top people, and they didn't need to prove anything.
Mm.
And so I made one mistake, and that was
Enough.
enough. I did not hold it against me.
That's good.
Yeah, which I'm glad. And they explained why I had made a mistake, because I was not knowledgeable about a particular situation that happened during World War II, and they used that as part of the example, the newspaper example
Mhm.
I was reading, and so I kind of stumbled,
Mm-hmm.
and then they told me, you made one mistake, and we understand why, because I wasn't
Yeah, exactly.
around in World War II.
Was it like a name? It was a name or something that you
It was
mispronounced?
the
Or?
name of the Berlin. The United States was flying into Berlin
Mm-hmm.
because they had to fly into Berlin. They couldn't take the roads
Yeah.
because it was German
Yeah,
control.
exactly.
Or Russian control, rather. And so I didn't know the name of the program
Mm.
in Spanish or English.
Or English, exactly.
So I was ignorant in two languages, and that was forgiven.
Yeah, that's for you.
Besides, it was, they kind of,
They could understand it anyways, yeah.
yeah, and they kind of like my style, I guess. And my brother was a very happy guy and was working with somebody's daughter
Mm.
who was also very prominent in the Democratic Party.
Mm.
So I made the right connections and had the right skill to be able to work.
That's a pretty cool job.
Yeah, and it was really cool. I had
It's a super unique experience.
yeah, so much fun doing it. Yeah, and we had equipment that everywhere we went we could set up, translation equipment, and it was fun.
It's fun.
And I say to me one of the greatest things was to meet the Ruther
The
family.
Luther brothers are,
Yeah, they were very prominent AFL-CIO guys,
Mm-hmm.
and they were really, really well. They were nice people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing. It was the unions were nice people at that time, or at least that union.
Yeah.
Whereas the Teamsters were bad guys,
Mm.
and we all knew about that. And so it was fun. So
It's interesting that you could there's so many like memories that you have that can just become uncovered, and then you can talk about them for that long.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But you don't it takes time to uncover memories.
yes, it has taken a long time to uncover the stuff
Right.
I've been talking to you about. Yeah.
But when you remember it, do you feel like it's like a lost memory, or do you feel like it's a memory that just is a memory, and then all of a sudden you remember it, and then you're
Yeah,
there?
it's fresh.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to go searching inside.
No, it just pops up
Yeah.
as part of the telling of the story.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's in the story.
Yeah. That's cool.
So this is going to be fun having it be in a book.
I think it'd be really, really cool to have it in a book. And my phone is about to die. But we've been doing this. That was like an hour.
Wow, that was fast.
So that was fast.
Yeah.
But maybe we can stop this and talk to Christina or
Sure.
sure.
Shall I give her a shout?
Yeah. Well, maybe we can go until she finishes her phone call, or she might go.
Hey, Chris. Yoo-hoo. Are you there? Christina. Did I lose you? Yoo-hoo, yoo-hoo. Oh, you're on the line.